there with these certificates for Berkshire. The company doesn't even know you own it, and the stock doesn't. It's trading now, and they don't know you own it. So it has no feelings about you. I mean, you've got all these feelings about it, but it's just part of a business. If Berkshire is worth 75,000 times 1.5 million shares, roughly 110 billion or something like that, it's a good investment. If it isn't, it's a lousy investment, and you have to value the business. And Graham, it's amazing, but people don't do that in Wall Street. You hear price targets or that kind of thing, but you'd see no one write a paper that says, here's the nature of this business over the next 20 years. What should that business sell for? Forget about what it's selling for. In fact, one of the things I always like to do when I'm looking at investments is I like to look at them without knowing the price. Because if you see the price, it automatically has some influence on you. If you just sit down with the reports, if I get an idea about looking up a company and I get the 10Ks and so on, I would rather not know the price because I'd rather value it without knowing the price. When I used to handicap horses when I was a kid, one of the things I would do is I'd get the racing form ahead of time. And if there were 9 horses in a race, we'll say, obviously the probabilities of each one winning the race had to add up to 100%. I mean, one horse was going to win the race absent a dead heat or all of them dropping dead on the backstretch. So if you went through the racing form and I would look at the third race at Hialeah, I would try to figure out the percentage chance of each horse winning the race, and that had to add to 100%. Then I would compare those percentages to the odds. But first of all, I wouldn't look at the odds first. I would look at the past performance and all of that thing first. Stock market's the same way. Third thing in Graham's book is the margin of safety. If you come up to a bridge and it says capacity 10,000 pounds and you're driving a 9,800 pound truck, you drive down further and find another bridge. I mean, nobody knows exactly what that capacity is, and sign may have been put up 3 years ago. So you always leave a margin of safety. You don't try to cut things that close. You wait till something kind of shouts at you in the stock market. And with those 3 principles, you can build all kinds of structures on that. But that's the foundation. And if you've got that in mind, and that's in the intelligent investor, I've never found anything that remotely compares with it. All 3 of the ones you can't get rid of one leg of the 3-legged stool and still have a good investment philosophy. But I would say that the most important thing over a long period and working with big money is to understand the business. Let's just say for the moment that you were given $1 million or whatever sum was necessary, and you could look around Knoxville or look around all of Tennessee if you want and buy into any 3 businesses, between now and a week from now. Private businesses, not trading or anything of the sort. And you got a week to do it or you have to give the money back. What will you be doing during the next week? I mean, you can look at all these companies. Some of them you're quite familiar with. Some of them you're less familiar with. Some of them you know by reputation. Some of them you know the management. Some of them you don't. You know their competitive situation. What will you be thinking about during that 7-day period? How will you actually be screening these companies out? I think you'll look for 3 businesses, and you can't trade them after you buy them. You're going to own them the rest of your life. You're going to be looking for businesses that have enduring competitive advantage. You don't want to buy a Burger King franchise just because nobody's come within 10 miles of it yet, because Wendy's and McDonald's and all of those will be there pretty soon. I mean, it isn't necessarily who's earning the most money now. You're going to look for something with enduring competitive advantage. Now that takes a business with some kind of a moat around it, because capitalism, by definition, is a system where every time somebody has an economic castle, somebody else is going to come after it. It's just the nature. If you open a restaurant and it's successful here in town, somebody's going to take your menu and probably take your chef, maybe cut your price, maybe offer a little more parking, maybe be a better okay, whatever. I mean, capitalism consists of going after the other guy's castle. If that's the case, you want a castle with a big moat around it. And there's a lot of ways you can have a moat around something. You could have it by patent protection. You could have it by location in certain areas. I mean, if you have something in people's mind, like Coca-Cola, 6 billion people in the world, practically all of them have something in their mind about Coca-Cola, largely favorable. They don't have anything in their mind about RC Cola. And if RC Cola spent $1 billion advertising, they wouldn't have anything in their mind about RC Cola. But they've got something in their mind about Coke, and generally it's favorable. That's why Coke wants to be where people are happy, because they want to be at the theater. They want to be at Disney World. They want to be at the World Series. They want always have you drinking that drink of Coca-Cola while at the same time experiencing happiness. And if they do that, they're going to sell a lot of Coca-Cola. And it won't make any